Hello everybody, my name is Aurathas, and today we are going to be starting on a brand new Let's Play of RimWorld, mostly because they have recently released the Wanderlust update, which is Alpha 16, I believe. And one of the really cool things about this update is that you no longer have just a small chunk of the world to work with, you actually get to pick from a spot anywhere on the planet to start your colony, and you can actually create multiple colonies and caravans to travel between colonies. Hell, it even sounds like you can find other colonies or outposts and attack them if you want to, so sounds pretty cool. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with RimWorld or are interested in it but haven't really looked too much into it, basically it is listed as a colony management game where you're trying to get your people to survive until you can escape the planet. But I would actually say it has more of a disaster management aspect because, well, let's be perfectly honest, this game does kind of fucking hate its players. So it will do everything in its power to destroy you and your colonists. So, if you are one of those people that likes challenging games that where even losing can be a lot of fun, RimWorld is probably a good option for you. Now, the scenario we're playing is the standard crash landing scenario, which is just described right there on the screen. The three of you awake in your crypto sleep sarcophagi to the sound of sirens and ripping metal. You barely get to the escape pods before the ship is torn apart. Sometime later, you land on this unknown RimWorld. As pieces of the shredded starship fall around you, you start making plans to survive. Are you going to survive? Most likely not, but let's see how long we can last. Now, the biome I went ahead and chose in this game was the boreal forest, which is one of my favorites. Let's go ahead and pause that for a second. I just like the fact that it has a lot of trees that you can use for quick building early in the game, and, well, I like the fact that it gets much colder than the temperate area and has a shorter growing season. I feel like it adds a little bit more of a challenge and entertainment to the game. And unlike playing around in the tundra biome, you actually do still have some wildlife to hunt and the ability to grow at least a small amount of food when compared to some of the other harsher biomes. So while the game's paused here, let's go ahead and unforbid our supplies. Let's see, components, steel, and let's take a look at our colonists now. One of the first colonists I've got here is Aurathas. He has a pretty good shooting skill, medicine, and research. Not a whole lot else going on, but nice and well-rounded. And with that shooting skill, I think we're going to go ahead and have him pick up the survival rifle. Let's see, the next one is Cummings. Looks like mostly going to be focusing on growing and construction, but surprisingly high shooting skill as well. So let's equip that one with the pistol. And Ryder, not, well, okay. So we have one weapon left, and that's the knife. And unfortunately, our last colonist here is pretty horrible at melee and is probably going to die if we try to engage in melee. Now, I'm not sure what use social's really going to be to us this early in the game, but when it comes to interacting with traders and other colonies or outposts in the future, it should come in nice and handy. But for now, let's just go ahead and give her the plasteel knife. And let's go ahead and browse around the map a bit. So one of the first things I like to look for when I start a RimWorld game is somewhere where I can create a wall that'll give us a nice little secure pocket to keep our colonists safe and build a couple walls to keep the wildlife out, because I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've lost a few colonists over the course of the game due to animals going nuts or winter coming and a random wolf or bear decides that one of my colonists would make a nice and tasty snack. And usually, even if I do manage to survive those encounters, I typically end up with a crippled colonist that is not really as useful as they could be. A lot of times I end up with that colonist, missing a limb and losing a lot of their work speed or being confined to bed. So let's see here. Now over here we've got some shallow and deep water, and then this green here is a marsh, which is pretty fucking annoying because you can't really build on marshes and it slows down your movement speed. So, not seeing a whole lot of really good options here aside from maybe building some wooden walls around this little area that we started in, so let's go ahead and do that. Since all we really have right now are wooden walls, let's go ahead and extend a wall from here to here, then from here to, let's go right there, finish the wall on the other side of this, and then maybe do this for now as a quick way to seal ourselves in so we don't get eaten or destroyed by some random bullshit that this game is no doubt already preparing for us. Now, let's see. Just to make sure that we have enough resources to build these walls, let's cut down some extra trees. We're probably also going to need that for cooking and firewood here in a little bit, so let's go ahead and speed up time and see how quickly we can get these walls up and try to get some measure of safety. Let's see here. Make sure everybody's working on everything. Now later on in the game we're going to want to take on manual priorities, which is, if you see here, you can click on this and it'll let you pick which jobs the colonists will focus on first if there are multiple tasks available. Now this early in the game I really don't like to mess with that because, well, I've only got 3 colonists and that typically means I need to put as many of them to work as possible, so on as many tasks as possible. So, and as you can see, I made a bit of a mistake there and forgot to put in a door to let our colonists back in, and let's face it, Ryder was a bit of an idiot and decided to build that last section of wall with her on the other side of it, so yeah, you will run into that kind of idiocy on occasion. Now, whether or not that's the AI's fault or my own is debatable, but I'm willing to admit that I've made stupid mistakes on this game before, so could go either way. Okay, let's see some of our new notifications. It looks like Aurathas and Ryder have decided to become lovers, which is both good and bad this early in the game, as they are going to want to sleep together, which means if I don't hurry up and build a double bed for them, they are going to become very disgruntled over time. Now over here we have this ancient danger area that Ryder walked by when she was trying to get back into the colony. Ooh, that's pretty close. Going to want to avoid that for now. I'm not sure what could pop out of there if I decide to go dismantle these walls and explore, so we're just going to leave that alone for now. Now, another thing we're going to want to do very quickly is we're going to want to build a stockpile, which is basically somewhere we're going to want to keep our food and medicine out of the elements, just so we still have, just so they don't decay and deteriorate. I'm sure if we went ahead and clicked on them, you'll see, see they're dropping down because they're unroofed, so they're just starting to come apart. Deteriorate, dissolve, whatever you want to call it. So let's go ahead and build a fairly large room here. Now, the reason I'm going with this 13 by 13 size room is one of the things about this game is if you build a room, your colonists are going to try to roof it in, but if you don't have enough supports in the room, the ceiling can collapse. That can hurt or kill your colonists, destroy your supplies, do all kinds of shit that can really fuck your game up for you. So I'm going to go ahead and do this 13 by 13 room with several entrances, and we are going to put right here in the center a single wall to act as a pillar. And I have found this 13 by 13 setup here is, with the pillar in the middle, is pretty much ideal for keeping the ceiling from collapsing and gives me a lot of storage space. I'm going to put some doors on every side so people can get in and out easily. Let's go ahead and take the stockpile tool and create a basic stockpile. We're going to pause this so that our colonists don't just start throwing random shit in this stockpile, just because I want this one to pretty much be focused entirely on food and medical supplies. As you see here, when you go into the stockpile menu, you can go ahead and select, what is and is not allowed in there. So we're just going to go with medicine and meals. Later on, I'm going to want this room to actually also become our kitchen so our people can prepare a few meals. Now, one thing we're going to want to start thinking about very quickly here, as soon as the stockpile is done, is we're going to want to start creating some growing zones so we can actually start putting in some crops and getting them ready for the winter. Okay, so our kitchen, or our food storage really, and our medical storage is now complete, and so are our walls, so we are fairly secure in here now. So let's go ahead and let our colonists have a few minutes to transport the food and medical supplies into storage. Anytime now. Okay. Now let's go ahead and put some growing zones now. I kind of like the growing zones to be about the same size as my buildings. So now one of the first things I'm going to do before building that growing zone actually is I have a mod on here that allows me to actually create and change the soil we're on, kind of like tilling the soil or digging moats, that kind of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a quick 13 by 13 space here and another one here for farming. We're going to use rich soil, which allows your plants to grow a fair bit faster than traditional soil. Problem is, it will take my... we may not have time for this. As our growing time per year is limited, especially in the boreal tundra. So let's give them a little bit of time, see if they see how long this actually takes to finish this section. Maybe cancel the second one. Now I'm going to want the first one to be finished because out of my first initial growing zones, I'm going to focus on one of food, one of medicine, and one on cloth, because winters in the boreal forest actually get really cold. We're talking about below zero, so if I don't get them good clothes, I probably am going to have people starving. Not starving. The hell am I talking about? Freezing, which will either cause them to die or get hypothermia while they're working outside and have to constantly take breaks to go and get treated or go near a heater or campfire, which is pretty damn annoying when you are trying to urgently complete some shit. So, let's go ahead and let them do that. And let's start... You know what? We can go ahead and create the rich soil growing zones once we've actually got food coming in, because I don't have enough meals to last a winter. There's just no way with the amount of meals I have. So we're going to create 2 growing zones. First one's going to focus on, potatoes work well enough. They grow fairly quickly. Your other choices are corn, which grow more slowly but give you a much higher yield. So, let's go ahead and do that. Let's do corn here and potatoes here. Let's go ahead and create a growing zone here, another 13 by 13, just kind of like the symmetry, so I want to keep all of them about the same size. Let's do, where is it? Cotton here, so we can actually create a tailor station or a tailoring station later on for our colonists, or at least one of our colonists, to start making clothing for everybody. Here we go. We're going to have to wait a few seconds for them to cut down all the trees, move all the debris and what have you. So, that's... you'd imagine these people would work a little bit faster considering, imminent freezing death is on the way, but to each their own, I guess. So, now, one other thing I do want to do here, because of all these chunks of stone that are sitting around and kind of getting in the way, is create a dumping stockpile. Let's go ahead and save for now, just to, not save, but pause, so we can check out what's going on with this visitor. Let's go ahead and build a dumping stockpile zone here. Now, what a dumping stockpile zone is, again, for those of you unfamiliar with the game, is it puts areas to keep just random items that may not have, that are not always all that useful. For example, chunks of stone and steel slag that you can find a use for later, but right now they just kind of get in the way. And corpses until you can find a place to bury them or butcher them for food. So, pretty useful, but not really... pretty useful for getting the junk out of your way and to keep it from cluttering your other stuff. So it looks like we do have a visitor that is... looks like she's trading. Or he's trading, I'm not quite sure. Oh, it looks like it's a she. Okay. So, let's go ahead and wait for that person to get a little bit closer to the colony before we attempt to do a trade there. And I'm actually not going to be able to trade with that person quite yet, because I actually do not have my silver in a stockpile. And that's the thing, is you start the game with a... I'm not sure if it varies between difficulty settings, but I'm going to go with... But in this particular setting, difficulty setting and scenario, we have about 800 gold. Or silver, sorry. We're going to go ahead and put that in the stockpile. As long as it is not in the stockpile, you actually cannot use it for trading or really anything else. It's just basically going to be sitting on the ground. Now, your people can occasionally go out and grab items that are not in any of your stockpiles to build stuff, but it's not going to be it's not going to be very efficient, and you're not going to be able to, when the items are outside of a stockpile, you're not really going to be able to see how many you actually have. Now, if we want to go ahead and get the money ready for trading, we can go ahead and force people to hurry up and haul that out of here. Now, let's go ahead and find our social character. That is this one. That means she should be able to, at least as far as I understand it, she should be able to get us a better price on the items that we trade. So let's go ahead and see if this trader has anything that we could use. A little bit of extra food to help us through the season wouldn't be bad. And since pemmican doesn't really go bad, that's probably a pretty decent purchase. Let's go ahead and take all that, just to help us through the winter. Just in case all of our crops fail to come in. Sorry about that sound. That was my text message noise. I really should mute that, just because I'm pretty sure you guys don't really want to hear or care about my text messages, and so we're gonna go ahead, and looks like Ryder thinks that we should have a faction name. Jesus, I don't know. Yeah, let's go ahead and leave it as Welsh. And it looks like we're gonna need to give our community a name. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and use Sanctuary. Just kind of like that name for a community, and rather enjoyed the fact that that was the name of your main community in Fallout 4, so let's go ahead and go with that. Although it is kind of weird that our faction's just called Welsh, but well. So let's go ahead and wait for these guys to hopefully complete the sowing of the fields, soon. Today, hopefully. As you can see down here, yeah, I'm not entirely sure all the fields are going to be sown by the end of this workday. Let's go ahead and look at, now here you can see that we have 20 days of left in the growing period, and 20 days total growing period. Looking at the date, looks like we have 10 or 11 days in which this stuff will have a chance to grow, and where we can actually try to put it to some use. Now, the seasons in this game tend to last, they do last 15 days. So, a whole year passes in 60 days, so a little interesting that way. Now, here's what I was talking about earlier, why I wanted the walls up. Now, a rat isn't a huge risk when it goes insane, but it can be a problem when things like buffalo or not buffalo, what do they call them in this game? They're up here. Yeah, a muffalo or a wolf or an elk can go insane, and those guys, when they go insane, can do a whole lot of damage before they're put down. So, okay, looks like we got a bit of a problem here. Now, the animals in this game will not are not able to attack or open doors, and it looks like our people have been a little careless, and they not only left that door wide open with a chunk of wood in it, but chunk of stone, but yeah, they basically left the whole colony in danger. So that's not very useful. So let's go ahead and take a look here. It looks like the fields are almost sown, which is okay. That was new. I didn't think the manhunter animals would actually attack a door so Okay, that's a little bit concerning, so let's go ahead and take our best shot here and see about... Where the hell is he going? Alright, looks like he's going to try to come in through the other door and cause some problems. So, went ahead and shot him, so that'll be... That's nice. We don't have to worry about him for a while. Okay, so we got the field sown. We have the kitchen area built, so let's go ahead and build another structure. Now, this one is going to also be the... We're going to go with the same... Yeah, we're going to go with the same dimensions as our other building, just because we're going to want... This is going to be a stockpile mostly for textiles, you know, for our cotton and the like, mostly because those items, if you leave them outside, in my experience, if you leave them outside after they've been harvested, they tend to deteriorate quite a bit faster than everything else, which leaves me with no items to make clothes from, and then I just have a bunch of pissed off and freezing colonists who are just a little angry at the fact that they don't have warm coats for the winter, or their current clothes are falling apart. So let's go ahead and just clear all of the priorities for this and just make sure it is focused entirely on textiles. Okay, now that's done, and our colonists are idle, which is never a good thing. You really don't want your colonists with having nothing to do just because, well, if they have nothing to do, that means that they aren't really prepping very well for their survival, and you're probably going to lose some people. So let's go ahead and make some bedrooms, because right now I would imagine one of the biggest things that is affecting our colonists is the fact that they don't have any beds or anything to sleep on, and that they are sleeping outside, which can't really blame them. That pissed me off too. Okay, so with beds, what I like to do this early in the game is I don't like to just go with single beds and, you know, per colonist, because over time it seems like most of your colonists, as your colony grows, end up pairing up and getting into relationships, and then I really don't want them to get angry because they don't have a place to sleep with their significant other. So let's see. We've got the 4 bedrooms. It looks like we have a new colonist who just decided to invite himself to join us, which is a little annoying. I'd rather be able to see their stats before I let them in. Yeah, see, this dude is not really going to be all that useful. I mean, he can help us out with animals, but he absolutely sucks at most of his other jobs. He's going to be an issue because anytime we find drugs, he's probably going to use them and then go into withdrawals if I don't produce more. And then this fucker is absolutely refusing to do any type of dumb labor, which means he's not going to haul, he's not going to really do any of the shit that I need my colonists to do this early in the game. So, yeah, he's not really incredibly useful. He's going to basically be taking up food for a while. Let's see, why are we not hauling the pemmican storage? Because we did not specify that we want the pemmican to be stored in the kitchen. So let's go ahead and send people out to get that. Another reason I want to pull this in and put it into storage is random animals will come along and eat the meals that are laying around. Okay, so we have a colonist over here who's a little bit angry that he is nude. Well, maybe you should have brought some clothing, you dumb bastard, because, yeah, this guy's gonna be an issue. I kinda wish that's one of my complaints about this game. It's one of my few complaints, because I actually do really love this game, is I don't really get the opportunity to reject this initial wanderer who just joins on his own. And it would be nice, because right now this dude is going to be pretty much just a drain on resources. Okay, so we're just about out of time for this particular video, so thank you everybody for watching. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you do leave a comment, please feel free to leave advice on how to proceed with this game, because I'm by no means an expert, and I know there are people out there with a lot more experience at this game that would probably have much more, that would probably have some tips that I would find extremely useful. Also, I'm always looking for new games to play, so I would really love it if you guys left some recommendations behind. So once again, thank you for watching, everybody, and I will go ahead and let you guys go.